everybody. Welcome to the Good Share Podcast with Ryan and Ice. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Ice.
All right. Hey, Ice, we did it again, man.
Yeah, we got a little long-winded.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
It does. But there's a lot to talk about. Like you were saying, there's a lot to unpack with it.
Yeah, I mean, well, and especially when a topic like this, it's hard for me to not. My head just starts going everywhere. And so there's like so much information I want to share with people. Partly because I get excited and see, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
The whole point of this is to tell people that these episodes are long, and I'm going long right now.
Well, it's exciting. You're excited.
Well, I get excited when people, if they want to start on a health journey, like I just feel like
because it's life changing, right?
Well, it can be if you can do it right. Yeah. And just, I've experienced the ups and the downs about it. So like to be able to share what I went through and you know, how much better things are now, that gets me fired up.
Right. So this is part 3.
Yes. Yeah. Part 3.
Tres of our health and fitness episodes or series, maybe.
Yeah.
We call series.
Yeah.
Unless there's a different name titled for it that we thought of that was better.
Right.
You know, later.
Later in post.
Right. But here we go. So we're still talking about quite a few things with the whole fitness thing about, you know, weight loss.
Yeah. Well, and before, I don't want anyone to think we forgot, but at the end of this episode, we'll check in with each other as far as where our weight is this week, how we're feeling. And I want to talk to you about, you know, your testosterone pellets and if you're feeling any different, feeling better, any of that stuff.
Yeah. So, I really want to talk to you about that and let you in on a couple things. But yeah, we'll hold that off till the end because it is really interesting.
Yeah.
But before we get to the end, because we're not there yet, you were saying something about complicated and keeping things simple because it doesn't need to be as complicated as a lot of them make it out to be, and rightly so, because now I'm not saying all of these, but from what I've read and what I've heard, and I've seen others, you know, advertising their fads or whatever, their workout regimen, they do make it somewhat complicated, but I think a lot of times they use that as a scare tactic to get you invested. Well, yeah, because
they want you to think that I can only do this if I use this program or if I drink these shakes or whatever it is. And I'm here to tell you, I didn't do any of that bullshit, and I lost over 100 pounds.
Right.
Like, it's not, when it really comes down to it, the science of losing weight is not complicated at all.
Well, tell me, because I don't really, I mean, we've talked about it, but I don't really know. And I know you've done a lot of research and a lot of like just basic understanding of calorie count and
which I got into all that stuff way after I started this. Like at first, I wasn't counting calories or anything. I just knew that I needed to eat better and eat less. That's a 2-part thing.
Okay. So before you move on, because I got a question.
Yeah. Hit me.
Because you move rather quickly.
Sorry. Well, it's because this is all in my head. I think about it all the time. And I also do want to say I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer. Sure. I don't have a degree. This is just stuff that works for me, and I am very passionate. So I do read a lot about it or listen to a lot of podcasts about it. But I'm not an expert.
And it has proven to work.
Sure.
The pictures alone tell the tale. But So real quick, this is a very easy thing.
No, hit me.
But okay, so like I've been changing my diet rapidly, and doing the same thing. But I run into times where I'm hungry, man. I mean, like my gut is doing the thing where it's gnawing away, right? And it hurts a little bit because I'm hungry. So I'm sure you've had and deal with the same thing. What are you doing?
I know I said it's not complicated, and it's not. It doesn't mean that it's not hard or difficult.
Okay.
If you really want to lose weight, you have to fight through some.
You have to fight the urge.
Hunger. That's just part of it at first. I think this is fascinating. I don't know how much science there is behind this, but I think about this a lot, and I've heard other people talk about it. If you go back to like the beginnings of man, whenever you define that, which I don't care. But if you think about like 300 years ago, when you had a hunger pang, you didn't have food readily available.
Right.
That hunger pang was a signal that you either needed to go hunt or gather. It did not mean that you needed to eat right this minute. It just meant that, hey, in a few hours, you are going to need to eat.
Huh.
Okay?
Okay.
The tough thing about the world today is that you can go to a gas station and for $10, you can buy food that calorically is enough calories for your entire day. And you don't even bat an eye, right? Food is everywhere, and it's really cheap, and it's really readily available. It's not always great for you.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, earlier I said I was hungry, and I called you, and I said, should I go get a Firehouse sub?
Yeah.
And I was obviously thinking a very small sub, but what you said convinced me otherwise. And you said, no, well, I wouldn't do it. You didn't tell me no, but you said I wouldn't.
I think I said, you're an adult. You can do what you want. But if you're really serious, I personally wouldn't do it. I'm not, I also don't want to come across that I'm villainizing any one specific food, because I don't believe in that. It is not food's fault that someone is fat. It is not a specific macro. It is not carbs' fault that you're fat. It is not fat's fat that you're fat. It is your own fault. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault in the sense that, well, you should know better, because I do think there's a lack of education when it comes to understanding certain things, and maybe not everyone always has the knowledge. But at the end of the day, you are accountable for what you put into your body.
Yeah.
End of story. And it is not just one specific food or type of food that does it. So, all that to say, yes, in the beginning, here's what I did. In the very beginning, November 5th, 2017, I was working out, not doing much, but I was doing what I could. I would come home and I would eat a banana after I worked out. And then like 3 hours later, I would make the tiniest salad ever, like a cereal bowl salad.
Right.
With not much on it. Because, I mean, Nashville has a thing of like their food. Nashville's food is hot chicken, right? And I like spicy foods. So I make my own hot chicken at home. I don't fry it. I just bake it. I buy like some chicken tenders at Kroger.
Okay.
Bake them. Put a little cinnamon in there. That's the trick. Put a little cinnamon. Not for any specific reason other than I just like the way it tastes.
Yeah.
And I was literally a cereal bowl size salad with like lettuce, some shredded carrots. I would do like some sliced almonds, like some baking type almonds, just very little. Yeah. However you want to say it. I'll say it right. You can say it weird. Like just a few craisins, like dried cranberries. And then,
oh my gosh, I
just
forgot all about that.
Just a little bit of hot pepper cheese. And then I would do 2 chicken tenders.
So your hot chicken, how you did the hot chicken is with the cinnamon?
Well, I for a while I experimented with making my own blend of like hot chicken spices, but then I was at Kroger one day, and down here, since hot chicken's a thing, I was like, oh, they have like a hot chicken thing you can buy. It's like, so it's all the spices I was using, but it's just a lot easier.
Right.
So I do some of that in a bowl, and I put a bunch of cinnamon, and then I just, coat the chicken tenders in that, put them in a pan, put them in the oven for like 20 minutes, bake them. It's real good. But anyway, so I'd have a banana right after I got home from working out. Then like 3 hours later, I'd make that little salad with 2 pieces of chicken, which is like 4 ounces of chicken maybe. And I wouldn't eat anything else. I would get hungry, but I wouldn't eat anything else until dinner, which dinner was always the variable because it's whatever we were eating as a family. But like Amy cooks pretty, I hate to use the word healthy, but she cooks pretty balanced. It was always like a protein and a vegetable, a starchy carb, and like some fruit. Okay. So the one thing I did which then Damon, when I started training with him, he later confirmed, like, yeah, this is what you should do is if there was a starchy carb like a sweet potato or rice or something like that, I would not eat near as much as I used to because it's dinner and like I'm going to, if we eat at 6, 3 or 4 hours later, I'm going to bed. Like I'm not using that for energy for a fuel source. And I'm also, I don't want to fully replenish all the carbs that I use that day because I'm trying to accelerate weight loss, fat loss, right?
Yeah, right.
Because, like people that are like really in shape, like if you weigh like 215, but you're like 10% body fat and you're just a big dude, like you can eat 3,000 calories and your body's using every bit of whatever you eat. So gaining weight is not really a thing that's in the back of your mind. Now, if you have like a day where you eat like 10,000 calories, well then sure. If you do that over and over and over for a week, yeah, you're going to be heavier at the end of the week. But like your body composition has a lot to do with how your body processes food and uses all the nutrients. But all that to say, I think the combination of the fact that so my trick was if I had hunger pains and it wasn't a time when I should eat, I would chew gum. Right. And I was drinking a shit ton of water.
Sure.
I always try and get at least a gallon, but normally I'm around like 160 to 180, somewhere in there, ounces.
That's kind of what I've been, no, not the gum thing, but that's kind of what I've been doing. Like if I get hungry, I'll drink a bunch of water to suppress it.
Yeah. So I would chew gum. And then after dinner, this is the thing that I would do sometimes. If I felt like, oh man, like for me, certain meals at dinner time wouldn't always be as like fulfilling or satiating as some others. Like if we had like fish or something, like it'd always be like fish with some like brown rice and broccoli and like strawberries or something, right? That's just an example. But like I'm not eating a whole lot of rice, but like fish is depending on what you're eating, but we would eat like tuna or salmon or mahi or something. Those are pretty lean, protein packed fish. But I wouldn't always feel, I would be at a point where I didn't even feel like full. I've really felt like, oh man, I'm really hungry. But if early on when I was so determined to just keep seeing the scale go down, I would go brush my teeth within half an hour of eating, because then I was like, well, I already brushed my teeth. I don't have to do it again before I go to bed. And that way I won't eat. I'm not going to drink like a glass of orange juice, which is unnecessary liquid calories. Like none of that. I've already brushed my teeth. Right. I'd pop a piece of like sugar-free gummin or whatever and chew that until I went to bed at 9:30 or 10.
Wow, man.
But dude, so that's the thing is like losing weight and everything you have to do as far as like exercise, that's all physical, right? The eating, it's all mental, man. It is all mental. It is how determined am I to actually change my body?
And not easily reach for this particular thing and put it in my face.
And I personally had a very like emotional, I hate that word, but like I had like a very emotional relationship with food. Like not even in the sense that I was aware, but like, if I'm going to sit down and watch TV, well, I'll have a bowl of cereal, or I'm going to eat this bag of chips, or even something that's quote unquote healthier, like cashews and almonds and pistachios or whatever. Like,
sure,
dude, nuts are so calorically dense that if you eat more than a cup, you're over 200 calories just from that. And that cup of nuts, and it might not even be a cup. It's definitely not a cup, because peanut butter is like 2 tablespoons. So it's like a quarter of a cup of nuts is like 200 calories. So if you eat past that, I mean, how easy is it to like eat a whole bag of cashews? I freaking love cashews. It's my favorite nut on the planet.
Yep.
But dude, that's like, depending on how big the bag is, you could be at 1,000 calories just from that right there.
That's crazy, man. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah. That's why, and I said this to you on the phone earlier, but I always love when people reach for nuts or peanut butter or any kind of nut butter, if it's almond butter or cashew butter, and they're like, well, I'm just trying to get some protein in. Yeah, nuts have protein, but in my opinion, it's not like if you're strictly eating something just for protein, nuts or nut butters are not the way to go, because it's going to be, if you actually eat what the serving is, it's going to be like between 180, 200 calories, and you're maybe going to get between 6 and 9 grams of protein. To me, that's not efficient, because that's a whole lot of fat and other stuff that's in there.
So chickpeas better be a better option, something like that.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about like my vegetable proteins, because I'm not, I haven't dabbled in being vegan or vegetarian or anything like that. I know that, like, you know, pea protein is really good, but I don't know what the breakdown of the macros is. My personal opinion is whatever you're eating, if you're going to call it a I'm eating this for the protein, it should be it should be at least 10 grams of protein for every 100 calories.
Okay.
So if something is 200 calories, and you're eating it strictly for the benefits of protein, then it better have
20 grams, right?
20 grams of protein.
20 grams of protein.
For instance, like I do supplement my protein intake with protein shakes. They're a mix of whey and casein, which are two, like, one is fast acting protein, one is slow acting. I forget. I think casein is, I don't remember.
I think it's the fast acting and
that's
whey is the slow.
Yeah. So one serving, like one scoop of that, depending on the flavor, is either 110 or 120 calories, but it's like at least 24 grams of protein. So when we're done with this podcast, and I cannot wait, because like I am starting to feel hungry. Now I could go, truthfully, I could fast for another 5 hours. I could go till dinner because I haven't eaten yet. So I haven't triggered my body's response to food. The minute I do, then I'm going to like be hungry.
Right.
But if I just don't think about eating, and I could go till dinner and just have one meal.
Okay. So you were telling me a while ago about, and this has to do with it being complicated or simple. About if you can't exercise and eat the same amount of calories and expect to lose weight.
You can't out exercise bad nutrition.
Right. So you were saying someone that's a larger person that is in an active job could burn through 3,000 calories in a day. Right?
Correct.
So if that person was overweight and they expected to lose weight, simply reduce the amount of calories that they're taking in.
Yes. That is, to me, the best way to do it. Like, I kind of went full bore on both ends, where I like upped my activity level, but then I also cut my calories drastically, right? Which
so
is, I think
you, for an example, what were those numbers looking like?
I mean, at the beginning, I don't know because I wasn't counting, but I can make guesses. Like, I was...
Before you started working out, what do you think?
Before I started...
Before, and then where you are...
Before I started
like
before I started my journey, I bet I took in anywhere between like 3,500 and 5,000 calories a day.
35 to 5,000?
Yeah, 3,500 to 5,000 calories a day.
A day.
And I bet I burned throughout an entire 24-hour period. Like, I probably burned about that much. I mean, I guess it makes sense because it wasn't like I was constantly gaining weight. I was maintaining at like 320-ish. I might be up a pound or two or whatever. But so whatever I was doing activity-wise in my life was enough to maintain 320, right? Gotcha. And whatever I was eating. Now, I'm sure there were days where I ate way more than that, but then there were probably days where I ate a little less than that.
Sure.
But on average, I would say it was probably in there somewhere. So then I started going to the gym. All of a sudden, you know, when it might take me till 2 or 3 p.m. to burn 2,500 calories or something in a day, you know, now I'm getting there a lot sooner because I'm upping my activity level in the morning and it's intense.
Okay.
So I'm creating a caloric deficit right off the bat there.
At the top of your day.
The very beginning of my day. But then I would come home and eat a banana and then that little salad and then dinner. I bet I wasn't taking in.
And that would account for how many calories?
I was an estimate because I wasn't logging early on.
I don't mean to grill you. I'm just trying to get a good idea.
I would say I bet I wasn't eating more than like 1,500 or 1,600 calories.
Okay. So you've got a 2,000 calorie deficit, right?
At least compared to what I was doing. That's just from food. That's just from food. We're not factoring in my activity level, which, you know, a lot of people like to use like MyFitnessPal or whatever, which I do. Mm-hmm. And I made this mistake early on, but like there's a thing set up where you can log all your food that day, right? And it totals up your calories at the top.
Right.
And it shows like you can set whatever your total calories are for the day. But then there's a spot for every day where you can log your exercise and log how many calories you burned.
Okay.
But then what happens is the app will change what your caloric goal should be for the day because it will factor in that. So it will say, well, now you can eat this much more because you've done that. Don't do that. Don't use MyFitnessPal like that. I did that for a while. And it didn't really have an effect on my weight loss because I think I was doing so much and eating so little that I was going to lose weight no matter what. Uh-huh. But now I use MyFitnessPal to track food. I do not log my exercise. Because first of all, things like Fitbits or whatever, exercise trackers, like they're really good. I think they're pretty accurate at like tracking your heart rate, tracking your steps, things like that. They're not super accurate at like how many calories you burned in a day. Just log your food. And if you're trying to lose weight, which we'll talk about this, but figure out what your maintenance calories should be. Mm-hmm. Have that as your total. Then just try and eat like, if you want to go really extreme, you can try and eat like 500 calories less. Like, let's just say we'll make it easy. Okay, I figured out that my maintenance calorie intake should be 2,500. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to be in a 500 calorie deficit. Well, then just make sure you don't eat more than 2,000 calories. Don't be like, okay, well, I'm going to eat 2,000 calories, but then I did like 4 miles on the treadmill and Fitbit or Garmin or whatever, Apple Watch, whatever it is, said that I burn 600 and some calories in that time. So then I add that exercise in. Well, it's going to add those calories back in and say, well, now you can eat this much.
You've got 600 extra calories you can eat now.
Don't do that because first of all, it's not that accurate. And second of all, remember how I said in the last episode, like to me, the nutrition part of it, the food part of it is so much more important than the exercise. Mm-hmm. You can lose weight without increasing your activity level if you are committed to eating in a caloric deficit. Now, it won't be as fast because obviously if you do any kind of exercise, that does increase your caloric deficit. Mm-hmm. But it also will ramp up your hunger. So it's going to make it harder to eat in a caloric deficit because you're going to be like, well, I lifted weights for an hour, man. And it was leg day. Like, fuck, I'm hungry.
Right.
I just want to go smash some peanut butter, like, or whatever. Like, if you are really committed and you can just be like, well, I'm going to eat in a 300 calorie deficit or 4 or 5, whatever, and not think about your exercise, then you're golden. Now, it's not going to come off super fast. It's a long, you got to play the long game because you got to make it a habit. You got to make it a lifestyle. It's not a temporary thing of, well, I'm going to do this until I hit my goal weight and then go back to eating the way I used to. No, you can't do that. Eating the way you used to is why you got as big as you were in the first place.
This is a forever change.
Yeah. It has to just be the way that you want to live your life. You know, like, and I think that's where people start to think that it's complicated and they give up because it's too hard. But it's really not. I think there are steps that, and this is what I did, right? First, I just worked on the quantity of my calories. How much am I putting into my body? And then
fixing your meals.
That helps.
I mean, not just like fixing your meals, like cooking
but correcting. Like
correcting your meals.
Yes. And then as I got more into it and I learned more, then I started looking at macros, which your macronutrients are your protein, your carbs, and your fats. Okay. And then there's all your micronutrients, which are all the other things like your sugar, your sodium, all that stuff.
Okay.
But the three macros are protein, carbs, and fats. And like really learning that like if you try and keep a high protein diet, because that helps you retain muscle mass, especially if you're doing resistance training, then it will help retain and grow muscle mass. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is after you get in, I'm not eating that many calories, and I'm looking at the breakdown of my calories with those 3 macros. Then as you get more into it, then you can start to look at the quality of your calories. Like, okay. And I'm not talking about like organic or anything, but like a lot of whole foods, like a lot of single ingredient foods, like spinach is spinach, right? This grilled chicken breast is chicken breast. Like it's not a whole bunch of processed foods. Okay. Things like that. Like
what would you throw at grilled chicken breast to, as an example, to make it more processed?
Well, I mean, that I don't know. I mean, if you're just cooking it at home, like nothing.
Yeah, right. What else could you,
if you're going to
ranch dressing?
Well, yeah, but I guess I'm talking more about like things that you would buy that are already processed, like cereal's a highly processed food because there's all kinds of different ingredients that make it up. Fast food is highly processed.
Granola bars.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, even granola bars, people will be like, well, these are healthy or whatever. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, maybe a
slightly better choice than a Snickers bar.
Maybe not. You know what's funny is I always love when people like some of those protein bars that people eat. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, if you look at the breakdown, like maybe you're getting a gram more of protein in this than in a Snickers bar, but it's also 300 calories and a Snickers bar is 250. Like, ooh. And if you really look at the label and look at the ingredients, it's like, this is literally not any better for me than this.
Right.
But like candy bars are a good example of like processed foods.
Okay.
Anything like that. But like if you stay clear of that, you eat like, potatoes, sweet potatoes, white rice, brown rice, beans, any kind of lean meat, like stuff that like you cook at home. And you can't just eat a chicken breast. I mean, you would go insane after like 3 days of just, if you didn't put anything on there. Like one thing I do, if I'm not making hot chicken, the other way I'll prep my chicken for salads is, I just started doing this about a month ago. I'll like pan fry it. I'll put a little bit of butter in a skillet in a pan, get that, so it's all spread around. And then I'll just take the same chicken tenders and I'll take like some garlic salt, sprinkle that across, and then some black pepper, sprinkle that across, put that side down in the pan, do the same thing on the other side, then cover it and let it cook on medium for like 6 or 7 minutes. Then flip them over and do the other side for like 6 or 7 minutes. Dude, it's really good. And it's like, it takes no effort at all. 15 minutes later, you got really good chicken. And if you do it right, you got at least enough for 2 meals.
Right.
That's the other thing that helped me is I just started food prepping. I would cook my chicken in advance. So I always had enough to eat for like 3 or 4 days. Because if you come home and you're really hungry and then you go, or like, let's say you're out running errands and you're really hungry and you're like, well, I'll just go home and eat. And then you go, but I don't have any, like I haven't cooked my chicken yet.
And you'll stop.
That's going to be another 20 minutes. Yeah. Well, that's just going to lead to like poor choices.
Right.
But having like being prepared for that kind of stuff makes it a lot easier. If I know that, I can just come home and throw my chicken in the microwave and whip together a salad in 5 minutes, boom. Mm-hmm. The other thing I think that people get confused about is like losing fat versus losing weight, which that goes back to like what Damon told me about, don't really worry about the scale. Cause if I'm putting on muscle and burning fat, the scale might not change, but the way I look is going to change.
Right.
That's why I said on the last episode, I'm really frustrated that I'm like 230-ish right now, because I know even with lifting that I've been doing in the garage and whatever, I haven't been training with Damon and I haven't been running as intensely as possible like I was, a year ago. I know that the weight I put on is not all from muscle. I haven't put on 10 pounds of muscle in a year. That's ridiculous.
Right.
If that was true, my gut would be gone. and everything else would be huge, you know? So that's how I know that like it's been probably a little bit of muscle, maybe like 2 pounds of muscle, but it's been mostly fat, which is annoying. 4 years ago, I would have done that and just been like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's just food, whatever. Who cares? I already had like Chipotle twice today and I'm at 4,500 calories for the day. You know what I mean? Like now there are days where I'm like, I'm conceding this day. I'm going to do this, you know?
Okay.
Okay. but for the next 2 months, I'm not doing that. Cause you know, you and I got this thing we're going on at the last episode. As far as holding each other accountable, we want to be down like 10 or 15 pounds.
And I'm trying really hard. And I was asking you exactly this thing about, you know, the scale, you know, when we started. I said, how often do you want to get met? And you're like, man, don't pay that much attention to it. We'll get it like, you know, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Because you can't let the scale dictate how you feel.
You can't. And I will tell you right now, I am guilty of that. I still am guilty of that. I know better and I'm still guilty of that. I've checked my weight every day since our last podcast. And like, I guess part of that is I know that I shouldn't, but I also know that if I see a number on there that I'm not happy with, if I'm in the zone, it keeps my ass motivated. Because if it's like, if I see that, okay, I was 230 yesterday, or I was 230 2 days ago, and then I was 228 yesterday, but then today I'm 229 or I'm back to 230. Well, it's like, shit. Which I sent you some pictures of like my scale and I was down like to 227 or whatever. Was that Saturday, I think? And you were like, golly, man, like what? And I was like, yeah, but dude, I guess it was Friday, whenever it was. I was like, yeah, but I just did like 10 miles and then I walked Lloyd. Like most of that is water because I'm sweating my ass off. Like there's probably like a pound or 2 or a pound and a half that's like actual weight loss.
So check our check-in on this one, right? We're going to do this every podcast. We're going to do a weight check-in for at least the next 2 months.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Right? Yeah. So around the first week of May, right? No.
It'll be like half. June. Well, let's just say the end of May, beginning of June, somewhere in there. That's when we'll. Which we can we can reassess when we get to that point. If we want to keep going, we'll keep going. But I kind of felt like that was our timeline, like 8 weeks from the beginning of this.
Yeah, if we can hit a target, you know, an ideal target, which the idea is 15 pounds, right? Because we're both right there in the same bracket as far as weight.
Right.
You're actually less than me at the moment, because your weight today came in at
225. 225.
Oh, 225.
225.8. Right. But
wow, golly,
some of that is water. Some of that is water.
225.8.
Yeah, but I've also been, I have been hitting the gym pretty damn hard since we had our last podcast. Because I told you on the phone, I think on Saturday, like, man, the number that I don't like to be over is 220 because this is so dumb, but as long as I'm 220 or less, I can always say I lost 100 pounds. Right. Ideally I'd like to be 215, 210-ish. But it's not, I don't really want to put a number on it because once I start training with Damon again, I'm going to fall into that thing of like, oh, the scale's not moving. But there'll be like a day where I walk into him and he's like, yeah, but look at your shoulders or, look at your traps or whatever. Like you're looking different and he'll see it, but I won't see it because I see myself every day. It's the same as if you're gaining weight. You don't really, might not notice that you're gaining weight day to day, but then if you look at a picture from 3 months ago, you're like, shit, I'm fat, man. Like what happened? But you don't see it every day.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm at 225.
You're 225 and I'm at 230.1. That was today.
Okay, so you're like down a pound?
Yeah, like.
Well, and I think
currently.
This is
and that was after now.
You had already eaten, right?
I had already eaten, and I also did some cardio, about 30 minutes worth of cardio.
Okay.
But that 230.1 was 3 days after that 231.8 whatever, a 5 or something, 4, 231.4. So I would assume that my body has regulated a bit between then. So this would not just be a simple water drop.
Yeah, of course not. And the thing that I like about how you're going to do it, which maybe it's not quite fair, but you're going to do it the way, like the good way, because of the doctor, your testosterone doctor said she said she didn't want you to do super intense exercise, right? She wants you to do like 15 minutes of cardio every day, but was staying
10
within
minutes cardio every day, but then slowly get that up to an hour every day.
Okay. And she kind of said like you can do some resistance training, but like not, you don't want to just be like trying to do a PR on your deadlift or something.
Right.
Okay. So you are going to do it mostly through creating your deficit by how you eat.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that as far as figuring out your maintenance level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The way I have been told to do it by numerous sources is take your body weight.
Okay.
And times that by anywhere from 10 to 12. Okay. Depending on how aggressive you want to be. Okay. But let's say you're 230, right?
That's 2,300.
If you times it by 10, so that's on the low end. Okay.
Oh, okay. So times it by 12.
Well, that's fine. I don't care how you do it. If you want to be more aggressive, then times it by 10.
Oh, more aggressive is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 2,300.
So 2,300. So if you eat, that's like your maintenance calories right there. Okay.
That's the maintenance.
That's on the low end, but yeah. So 2,300, if you eat 2,300 calories a day, you'll pretty much maintain your weight.
Okay.
But if you create a 500 calorie deficit every day,
okay,
that would be 1,800 calories.
Calories. So I have to. That's the idea. I eat 1,800 calories every day.
Yeah, they're around. I mean, I think that's super aggressive. The reason I say 500 is because the general scientifical thinking is 3,500 calories is like 1 pound of fat. So if you eat in a 500 calorie deficit every day for a week, that's 7 times 5. That's 3,500 calories. So that's like 1 pound every week.
Gotcha.
Okay.
3,500 pounds. 3,500 calories is the equivalent of a pound
of fat. Yeah. I mean, that's
give or take.
Yeah. But so that's how like that, and that's just creating the deficit through your nutrition. So any exercise you do on top of that, whether it's 15 minutes of cardio or you do a little bit of lifting or
could be pushing that deficit even further down.
Yeah. Well, or yeah, creating a larger deficit. Yeah. Because, because 2,300 is like, that's like bare minimum. That's like, if you just if you just woke up and laid in bed all day and didn't do anything, your body's only going to burn 2,300 calories. So like all the arm movements we've been doing and everything during this podcast, like that's called NEAT, which is non-exercise. Oh, I forgot. But it's like all the movements that you do throughout the day that aren't considered, you're not doing them specifically to burn calories, but you have to do them, that burns calories too. Okay. And then if you're doing any kind of intense exercise on top of that, so all of a sudden now your deficit is a lot larger, but only think about it in terms of what you're eating and where your maintenance is. Anyway, well, man, how are your I can't even, pellets?
Yeah.
I couldn't think what they were called.
Okay. So tomorrow will be 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks.
Man, it's been 2 weeks already. That's so crazy. Okay.
2 weeks after I've had them inserted, right? So the first week, you, on average, normally won't feel much happening until approaching day 6 and day 7. That's when you might start to notice some things happening. Now, my wife, she noticed within, I think, 4 days that my behavior was starting to slightly change for the better. Okay. And my energy level was going up. I did not notice this change quite as much as she did. I think I talked to you and I said I noticed something, but it's very subtle. Like it's just barely like something that I'm even picking up on. Well, let me tell you something. This past weekend, my energy level has shot up. Like, it's not like uber dramatic, like it's the wonder drug type. It's not that, because you're also very responsible for what you're doing for this thing to be effective. Like if you are wanting something put in your body that all of a sudden just makes you have loads of energy and drop weight and do this and do that and maintain your same lifestyle, forget it. Yeah. It's not worth it. You'll be spending bad money after good. Because with doing something like this, you must change your everyday lifestyle. It's just, if you want to get the most out of it, you have to do it. So this weekend we had family over. My dad, my brother, and his fiance, my dad's wife, and the children. So we had a house full of kids, and normally whenever
sounds absolutely terrible.
And normally it would be, for me anyway, because it was just the biggest energy soak ever, right? And I would a lot of times just avoid the people altogether, and I would go into my office and work, or just because I would have to produce and provide a lot of energy I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And it made it very hard to interact. But this past weekend was completely different. I was very much interacting with everyone. I was enjoying myself. I had the energy to do it. They all said that they noticed a big change in me, that I was very responsive and like looked very awake. Yeah. So that was like a big deal. Now, the other thing that happened was, my wife had a professional day at home, and she wrapped up quite a bit of things in the morning, and then towards the afternoon, she had some free time, and we had some stuff we had to go take care of. Well, she had some stuff she wanted to go take care of. And normally she would always ask me if I wanted to go with her, and I would never, hardly ever go with her, because I had other things I had to do. And really what it come down to was I would look at, okay, if I leave, that means I'm going to expend all this energy doing this. And then when I come back, I'm going to be exhausted. I'm not going to be able to get the stuff that I need to get done. It's just not going to happen. Right. But that day on Friday, I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I went, and I was excited to go. And I wanted to go. And it wasn't a struggle. Like, it wasn't like something that was hard to do, like it was in the past. So that was a completely different thing. And it wasn't like me trying to earn brownie points or anything like that. It was just that I just sincerely could afford to expend the energy because I no longer was living in an energy deficit. Like it just wasn't a thing. The other thing I noticed was that morning, Friday morning, or was it Saturday morning? It was Friday morning. I was up, man. I was up and ripping and raring to go at 5:30.
Nice.
I mean, I was ready to put the world on fire at 5:30. So between 5:30 and the time my kids leave, which is 7:30, or no, 8:30, 8:20, I had contacted my physician, wrote her an extensive email about my current condition, and there was this whole thing about a particular prescription the insurance company would not sign off on because they needed some other health plan from my PCP, right? But then after I researched it, check this out. My physician wanted me to take a prescription amount of a particular thing for my cholesterol.
Okay.
The insurance company, nope, not doing it. We want to see him taking this thing first before we go and move him on to that, right?
Because fucking insurance companies are doctors now.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I couldn't get my prescription. Now my cholesterol, last checked, it was like close to 500, which is really, really, really high. So it was a bit of concern, but I wasn't letting it get to me because I'm like, if I need to start controlling this, I feel like it needs to happen right away. And she was adamant about me starting this prescription. So I was like, wow, okay. I wonder how long this is going to go on. Am I ever going to get the prescription? So it seems like they were fighting, right? So my wife calls the insurance company because now she's like, this has been, 5 days, and no idea when we're going to see this. And he obviously needs it. So I'm going to call, or she's like, I'm going to call the insurance company. So she calls the insurance company, and they said, there's not really anything that they can do. It has to be done through the doctor, and they have to check it with their, they have to go through the standard BS. And just before she gets off the phone, she goes, now you understand that what she is prescribing him is OTC, right? Which is over the counter. It's just not in the dosage that she's prescribed. And my wife was like, no, I did not realize this. And I didn't research it.
Yeah.
Which I should have. And I normally do, but I didn't. And so, yeah, it's niacin, which is a supplement, right?
Yeah.
I have to take 1,000 milligrams every day. But I can buy it in 500 milligram pills and take one in the morning, one in the evening, which is what I've been doing. And I told her that's what I'm doing. And she's like, great. That works for me.
All right.
The insurance company was wanting me to do a drug first.
Of course.
Not a supplement.
Yeah.
I had the name in front of me and then I lost it. It may have been Lipitor. But it's a drug, which makes sense because they make more money off of that rather than a supplement. And then I'm not even sure because I haven't checked out, but I might look at it and I'll tell you what it is next podcast. How much that prescription was going to cost me, because the 2 500 milligram bottles that I bought, which are both 120 pills in each, or tablets in each one of them, which is at the rate I would have to take those is 3 months supply or 2 months supply? No, 4 months supply That's a 4-month supply. 128 divided by 30.
Right. Yeah.
It's a 4-month supply at the amount I have to take, which I probably won't have to take that many after my next blood work. I don't know yet. Won't know. But it's a 4-month supply, and it wound up costing me $11. I highly doubt that even the prescription supplement would cost me that in a 30-day supply.
No, not even close. It'd be way more.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I noticed with this particular doctor's office I've been going to now, that is now my PCP. They are very much in trying to be proactive health and stopping bad things from happening before they start.
Yeah.
So
that's the opposite of the healthcare industry.
It is. It's very much the opposite. So they did. Now, it's not to say that they're only holistic and this and that and the other, because she did prescribe me a antidepressant, SSRI. So that was full on medication,
Yeah.
But everything
I'm not saying stuff like that doesn't have its place.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the healthcare industry is so reactive and not proactive.
Yeah.
Like if people were told to like, hey, eat smarter and be a little more active, I would think would have less health issues.
Yeah.
That we'd have to react to.
Right. I think the majority of people would be not as heavy. They wouldn't have near the health problems that they currently have. There's now signs and some stuff pointing toward like some of the cholesterol medicine leading to dementia and Alzheimer's. And we have a growing population of these particular health problems. And I don't think it's just solely related to, we have a better understanding of how to study and, and statistic.
Right.
Right.
Well, the thing that always kills me is, like type 2 diabetes is also called adult onset diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows up in kids that are like 11, 12.
Yeah.
You can't call it adult. I mean, the reason it's called adult onset diabetes is because it used to not show up till you were like 40.
Mm-hmm.
But kids eat so poorly, because their families do or whatever, that like, sorry, that's like a thing that it really, I read a whole article about it and it really struck me that like, man, that's like something as a parent, we try to make sure that Ella understands the point of eating. Yeah, food should taste good. You should enjoy it. But the point of eating is to fill your body with nutrients, to fuel your body.
Yep.
It's not like about the cartoon character that's on the box or how fun it is to go through a drive-through. Like,
yeah,
like those things have their place, all things in moderation, some things
sure
less than. But like, I think there is a part, of the world, part of the country that they're eating that way 80% of the time. And it's just like, man, what do you expect? You can't be puzzled why your 14-year-old son weighs 300 pounds when your cupboards are full of like Oreos and all that stuff. And your idea of like feeding your family is, I'm just going to run through the McDonald's drive-through and grab a sack full of burgers and a sack full of fries. And you're going to do that 4 or 5 nights a week.
Ooh,
like you just, and they're drinking soda and juices and all, like, that's the whole thing of like being accountable. You can't honestly tell me that you can look at all that and be like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to understand much to know that is not fine.
Right. Right.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to just get it over the counter and not have to deal with insurance.
Yep. Me too. Because I got a letter today from Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem, and it was this whole thing about how they were just making sure that they were following their protocol, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But now your prescription is approved, but that does not mean that it will be fully paid for. We could deny that, so it means you would be responsible for the full amount of the prescription. So I just looked at it, I'm like,
but it doesn't matter, right? Because you can just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to go fill it. The only thing I was going to do is I was going to go over and see how much it costs. Just wondering.
Sure.
How much is this going to cost me, and how much do I get for that? How many day run do I have with that? Just as for a comparison, just sheerly for comparison.
Right.
Just to get an idea of like, because I think like that kind of stuff should be revealed.
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's extremely unfair and just a complete bunch of BS, man. Just like the food industry. So, have you got any fun facts to share with me?
I thought you were the fun fact guy.
I am the fun fact guy. I just didn't pull it up quick enough. But I do know one of those things. I do know something.
All right.
That's a pretty fun fact. Did you know that a duck can't walk without bobbing its head?
Good Share.
Hey, thanks for listening or watching the Good Share podcast. Hey, Ice, tell them what they can do.
Well, if you're enjoying the show, please take a minute and like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss an episode.
That's right. And if you want to know more, go to thegoodsharepodcast.com.
Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.